Hello everyone, it's History Behind the Warrior, and as always, welcome back to yet another installment in my Across the Multiverse series, where we take a fan-beloved character from the MK mythos and do a deep dive lore retrospective on them, but unlike how we've ever tackled them before, because whilst we typically analyze them within the main canon and series of games, today we will be transcending beyond that into spin-off games, movies, and of course, TV shows. So with that said, in today's video, seeing as we did touch on Noob Saibot last week, it did only feel right to touch on his former partner in crime and adopted brother in the new era, Smoke, aka Tomas Verbada. Now Smoke has always been a super interesting character to tackle on the channel, because he's gone from human to cyborg to revenant and then demon. There's always something new and always something different going on with Smoke here, as his lore and character is always consistently evolving, changing from saga to saga. So today's deep dive lore retrospective will most certainly be a really fun one for me to tackle, with each different version and iteration of Smoke here being quite different to that of the others. But before we do begin, quick disclaimer as always, that if you want to have the full experience of understanding Smoke's origin, lore and character, I do strongly recommend checking out the history of Smoke beforehand, and as always, if you are enjoying this series and wish to see more, please don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our weekly uploads. And as always, please give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help support both the channel and the video in YouTube's algorithm. So it goes a really long way in supporting the channel. Anyway, let's delve right into things, starting with everyone's favorite spin-off game, Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. Now Smoke's time in this installment would be in a very limited capacity, one that kind of does homage his first appearance in MK2, because he would feature in that installment as a secret fight. And with Shaolin Monks being an incredibly loose retelling of MK2, it makes a lot of sense that he's not a key player here. When we do encounter Smoke, it is strictly as an NPC who is hidden away within the living forest, giving the player a sequence of side quests to complete in order to unlock MK2 in-game. A nice little inclusion to pay homage to the roots of Shaolin Monks. Beyond this though, Smoke doesn't really play much more of a role in game, as he isn't his own official playable character with his own moveset. He merely serves a side role in this game. But from a visual storytelling standpoint, this depiction of the character is obviously one that has not undergone the Cyber Initiative, being pretty damn faithful to its source material in that regard. Sadly though, this would be the most we do see of him in this installment, but we do get a pretty nice redesign of him, as there's clearly signs of influence from his MK2 design as well as 3D era counterhalf, having a sleek, unique hybridized look. So this now takes us onto the more cinematic side of things, in the form of Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Coming off the prior events of the 95 installment where Shang Tsung was defeated, here Shao Kahn would take a far more direct approach in his attack against Earthrealm, leading a full-on siege and invasion, and then announcing a 7-day countdown clock for Earthrealm's demise. But to cement his final victory against them, Shao would unleash his death squads to hunt them down in the form of the Lin Kuei, whom at this point in time had not only just turned their back on Earthrealm, but had also undergone the Cyber Initiative, marking their Age of Steel through the inclusion of Cyrax and Smoke. Unfortunately, because of his antagonistic role, his appearance in this time is incredibly brief and does lack a lot of character. Now Smoke strikes once Liu Kang and Kitana are seeking out Nightwolf, sneakily attacking the duo with a handful of fellow Lin Kuei members assisting him, all that are human by the way, indicating that whilst the Cyber Initiative has gone underway, it's pretty clear that not everyone was deemed worthy for this transformation, only being strictly appointed to their generals. Or you know, they didn't have the budget to spend for those costumes and would instead spend it on CGI animalities. Either way, Smoke is able to gain the upper hand in this fight against Liu, tanking a lot of his shots and for the most part, really does dominate this fight, putting the champion on the back foot. It would take the interference of Kuai Liang to stop the cyborg, freezing him in place as a loaded rocket in his chest would detonate, sealing the fate of Smoke in this timeline. But what if I was to tell you that this wouldn't be the only time Smoke, or at least a Smoke, does appear in this timeline and era? By dialing back the clock far before the events of the 95 movie, we do now have the tie-in TV series, Mortal Kombat Conquest, a series that takes place during the Great Kung Lao era, which was more or less designed to enrich the world of the background characters from the movies. And this would include the likes of Smoke, but it's even more brief than what we did have in Annihilation, because in the middle of the series, following the death of one of the Grand Masters, and the defection of their Sub-Zero at the time, due to the severity of the circumstances surrounding his betrayal, the Lin Kuei would unleash Smoke in order to hunt down the Cryomancer. Unfortunately though, beyond this really cool credit stinger, with the cancellation of Mortal Kombat Conquest after one season, we don't quite get to see how this plot thread would have unraveled, which is a real shame here. However, from a visual telling standpoint though, it says a lot in terms of design. Now as we look a little bit closer at Smoke's design, we see that he's unlike his other fellow Lin Kuei compatriots, being able to shift in and out of physical and material form, clearly living up to his namesake, and maybe some sign and influence of the Smoke Demon within him. But that's where things get super interesting here, because the whole Smoke Demon thing wasn't something fully capitalized on until Mortal Kombat Deception, and the whole demon aspect of it wasn't officially canonized up until Mortal Kombat 9. So in many ways, what we do have and see here may have served as a catalyst of sorts for what we got later down the line. It's just unfortunate that we never quite got around to seeing what this iteration of Smoke was all about. The only thing we can say for certain though, is that the time gap between the Great Kung Lao era and Annihilation means that this has to be two separate Smokes. So, with the more live action side of things concluded, this now pulls us over to the more animated side of things, starting with Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm. And this continuity is quite a peculiar one if you aren't familiar with it, being set during the events of MK3, but kind of having the backdrop of the 95 movie as the original tale for MK1. It's a hybridized continuity, but of course, how does Smoke fit into this timeline? Well, narratively, the episode he does feature in is split into two halves. One half where there are flashbacks and he can be seen as human, and then that of the present where we do see him in cybernetic form. So yes, fate has once again claimed him to the Cyber Initiative. Now, it's during this episode where we do see the background of Sub-Zero, where it explores his time in the Lin Kuei, as well as his brotherly relationship with Tomas, how the two trained with one another and bared an oath to never lay a hand on each other. Hell, even when the Cyber Initiative began, the two would escape together. Yet, much like that of the original continuity, Smoke wouldn't be as lucky as his compatriot, being bested by Grandmaster Oniro, and then converted against his will. So when we are introduced to him, he has fully succumbed to the Lin Kuei's control, facing off and hunting down Kuai Liang in order to capture him for cyberization. But during this entire skirmish, Kuai would not raise a single hand against his friend, trying to reach out to his humanity and peel away whatever influence and poison the clan had infected him with. And it would take the near death of Kuai in order for Tomas to temporarily snap out of their control, fighting off Oniro and defeating the shapeshifter. And whilst he did save his friend, he is still Lin Kuei and loyal to the clan. So in the end of this episode, Smoke would end his friendship with Kuai, but does at the very least continue to respect their ceasefire, marking quite a sad end between these two former friends. And much like the Conquest series in that regard, Defenders of the Realm would only have one season before its cancellation. Thus, Smoke's time and appearance in this canon is extremely limited. And this takes us onto our final segment here, with Mortal Kombat's Battle of the Realms, sequel to Scorpion's Revenge, and ever so loose retelling of Mortal Kombat 2. Now during this film, its narrative is split into two halves. One that is focused from Earthrealm's perspective on the tournament, and its secondary narrative, which is heavily focused on the return of the One Being, with this story itself showing the ramifications of Bi-Han's death. For when we are first introduced to Smoke here, he can be seen sparring with Kuai Liang, helping him refine his skills and techniques in order to live up to his brother's name, something that Smoke rewards him with by giving him a new mask. Tragically though, much like prior continuities, the Cyber Initiative would once again go underway. Here, we do actually get to see them defy and even fight the Grandmaster's vision, believing it to be a bastardization of what the clan stands for. So Smoke can be seen teaming up with Kuai Liang to battle the likes of Cyrax and Sector. Yet this is a completely one-sided fight. Once Kuai Liang is launched away from a massive explosion, Tomas would be captured and physically converted by Cyrax on the spot. So naturally, the next time we do encounter Tomas, he's fully cyberized and but a mere puppet of the Grandmaster once again. And it's somewhere around this point in time where the Lin Kuei would be given the mission of tracking down the Spectre, Hanzo Hasashi, needing him to open up the Temple of Elements and retrieve a secret Kami Dogu. But why and who for? Well, this task would be handed out by the fallen Elder God Shinnok, who wished to return the realms to the ways of old, using himself as a catalyst for the One Being, something that the Lin Kuei were completely oblivious to. The trio would set out and hunt down the Spectre, and were indeed successful, albeit with a bit of resistance from Sub-Zero's part, but nothing that they themselves couldn't handle. With completion in their sights, they would travel to the Temple of Elements, open its crypt, and then acquire the final sacred Kami Dogu, completing their mission with little to no issue. Yet, it's in their success would they come to the horrible realization of what they've done, and with no more use for the Lin Kuei, Shinnok would reward them with death, having the trio be swarmed by an endless sea of Oni and demons, which then results in the death of Smoke once again. Now, to say that Smoke doesn't get the short end of the stick in multiple timelines would be the understatement of the century, because it's bad luck on a scale that I can't even fathom. It's a real tragic shame because his moments to shine are few and far between. Even so, it does fill me with great joy when he is included. It's really interesting to see this evolution of the character and how he's approached from media to media because of it. No Smoke we have here is truly the same, and whilst their roots may be very similar in foundation, it's in what direction do they all point that make them unique here. So, with that said and everything covered here, I now relay the question to all of you of, who was your personal favourite depiction of the character? Whether that be in game, movies, or TV shows. Please do comment down below. For me myself, it's a close tie between his 9 and 1 counterparts. Because honestly, it's just kind of nice not to see him be fruit blended once in a while. For now everyone though, that's been it for me. So as always, stay strong, stay well, and I'll catch you in the next one.